Have you ever wondered why one gardener harvests only a handful of tomatoes while another fills basket after basket from the same amount of garden space? The surprising truth is that tomato harvests are rarely determined by luck. In most cases, the difference comes down to a series of small decisions made throughout the growing season. Variety, selection, soil preparation, watering habits, pruning techniques, and even planting depth can dramatically influence how many tomatoes a plant produces. Many gardeners unknowingly make mistakes that limit production before the first flower even appears. Others follow proven methods used by experienced growers and are rewarded with plants loaded with fruit from top to bottom. Today, we're going to uncover the secrets behind consistently growing huge tomato harvests. These are practical, real-world techniques used by successful home gardeners, market growers, and commercial producers. No myths. No miracle tricks. Just methods that actually work. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how tomato plants grow, what they need to thrive, and how to maximize every plant's potential. Let's begin with one of the biggest factors of all, choosing the right tomato variety. Many gardeners focus entirely on growing the largest tomatoes possible. But when your goal is a huge harvest, productivity matters more than fruit size. A single giant beefsteak tomato can weigh over a pound. But a productive cherry tomato plant may produce hundreds of fruits over a season. This doesn't mean one type is better than another. It simply means you should match the variety to your goals. Tomatoes generally fall into two categories, determinate and indeterminate. Determinate tomatoes grow to a certain size, set most of their fruit over a shorter period, and then slow down significantly. Indeterminate tomatoes continue growing, flowering, and producing fruit until frost or disease stops them. For gardeners seeking the largest total harvest over a long season, indeterminate varieties are often the better choice. Many experienced growers rely on varieties such as Sungold, Sweet Million, Juliet, Better Boy, Big Beef, and similar high-producing cultivars known for reliable yields. Disease resistance is another important factor. A tomato variety that resists common diseases can continue producing long after susceptible plants have declined. When reading seed packets or plant labels, pay attention to disease resistance codes. They often indicate protection against problems such as fusarium wilt, verticillium wilt, and nematodes. Choosing productive, disease-resistant varieties gives you a major advantage before planting even begins. Now let's talk about seedlings. A huge harvest starts with a strong plant. Weak seedlings rarely become productive adults. Healthy tomato seedlings should have thick stems, sturdy growth, and deep green leaves. Plants that are pale, stretched, or leggy have often experienced insufficient light and may struggle throughout the season. Professional growers know that early plant development influences everything that follows. Strong seedlings establish roots faster, recover from transplanting more quickly, and begin vigorous growth sooner. Many experienced gardeners intentionally expose young tomato plants to gentle air movement from a fan. This encourages stronger stems and sturdier growth. Before transplanting, seedlings should be hardened off gradually. Hardening off means slowly exposing indoor-grown plants to outdoor conditions over a period of about 1 week. Skipping this step can shock plants and delay growth. Every day lost during establishment can reduce eventual productivity. Once you have healthy seedlings, the next secret lies beneath the surface. The soil. Many gardeners focus on fertilizers while overlooking the foundation that determines whether those nutrients can actually be used. Tomatoes thrive in rich, well-drained soil filled with organic matter. Good soil performs several jobs at once. It supplies nutrients. It holds moisture. It allows roots to breathe. It supports beneficial microorganisms. And it provides stability for the entire plant. One of the best ways to improve garden soil is by incorporating compost. Compost improves structure, increases water retention in sandy soils, and enhances drainage in Heavy clay soils. It also supports microbial activity that helps release nutrients to plant roots. Successful market gardeners often invest heavily in compost because they understand its long-term benefits. Another important factor is drainage. Tomato roots require oxygen. Waterlogged soil suffocates roots and limits growth. If water stands in your garden after rain, consider raised beds or soil amendments to improve drainage. Tomatoes generally prefer slightly acidic soil with a pH between approximately 6.0 and 6.8. In this range, nutrients remain readily available to the plant. A soil test can reveal pH levels and nutrient imbalances before problems appear. Many experienced gardeners test their soil every few years because guessing often leads to unnecessary fertilizer applications. Now comes a technique that surprises many beginners. Planting tomatoes deeper can dramatically improve root development. Unlike many plants, tomatoes can form roots along buried stems. When transplanting, remove lower leaves and bury a significant portion of the stem. Some gardeners plant seedlings so deeply that only the upper few sets of leaves remain above ground. Others place seedlings sideways in a shallow trench if plants have become tall and leggy. Both methods encourage extensive root systems. And larger root systems support larger harvests. Think of roots as the engine powering the entire plant. The stronger the engine, the greater the production potential. Next comes spacing. This is where many gardeners unintentionally reduce yields. When plants are crowded together, airflow decreases. Humidity increases. Disease pressure rises. Competition for sunlight intensifies. The result is often lots of foliage and fewer tomatoes. Spacing recommendations vary by variety and support method. Large indeterminate tomatoes frequently require at least 2 to 3 feet between plants. Rows may need even more room depending on training systems. At first, this spacing can seem excessive. But by midsummer, those plants often fill every available inch. Proper spacing improves airflow, light penetration, and disease prevention. All three contribute directly to higher production. Speaking of light, let's discuss one of the most misunderstood factors in tomato growing: sunlight. Tomatoes are sun-loving plants. Most varieties perform best with at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. More sunlight generally translates into stronger growth and better fruit production. Commercial growers carefully manage light because photosynthesis drives the energy production. That supports flowering and fruit development. A tomato plant growing in partial shade may survive. It may even look healthy, but its harvest will rarely match that of a plant receiving abundant sunlight. If you have multiple planting locations, reserve the sunniest area for tomatoes. The difference in yield can be remarkable. Now let's examine watering. This is perhaps the most common source of problems in home gardens. Many gardeners water too frequently and too lightly. Shallow watering encourages shallow roots. Shallow roots become vulnerable during hot weather. Instead, tomatoes generally benefit from deep, thorough watering. The goal is to encourage roots to grow downward into cooler soil. Deep root systems improve drought resistance and nutrient uptake. Consistency is equally important. Extreme fluctuations between dry and wet conditions can contribute to cracking, blossom end rot, and reduced fruit quality. Experienced growers often monitor soil moisture rather than following a rigid watering schedule. During hot weather, plants may require significantly more water than during cool periods. One practical method is checking moisture several inches below the soil surface. If the soil remains moist, watering can often wait. If it feels dry, it's time to irrigate. Another major secret to larger harvests is mulching. Many professional growers consider mulch essential. Mulch helps conserve moisture. It suppresses weeds. It moderates soil temperature. And it reduces soil splashing during rain. That last benefit is particularly important. Many disease organisms reside in soil and can splash onto lower leaves. Mulch creates a protective barrier. Common mulches include straw, shredded leaves, grass clippings, and compost. Organic mulches gradually break down and contribute additional organic matter to the soil. Gardeners are often amazed by how much healthier tomatoes appear after mulch is applied. The soil stays cooler, moisture remains more consistent, and plants experience less stress. Now let's move to fertilization. This topic creates more confusion than almost any other aspect of tomato growing. Many gardeners assume more fertilizer means more tomatoes. Unfortunately, that's often false. Excess nitrogen frequently produces enormous plants with lush green leaves and disappointingly few fruits. This is one of the most common reasons gardeners see abundant foliage but limited harvests. The plant invests its energy into leaf production instead of reproductive growth. Tomatoes require balanced nutrition. Nitrogen supports vegetative growth. Phosphorus supports root development and flowering. Potassium contributes to fruit production, quality, and overall plant health. Calcium helps prevent physiological disorders such as blossom end rot. Micronutrients such as magnesium, boron, manganese, zinc, and iron support countless biological processes. Rather than applying large amounts of fertilizer all at once, many successful growers provide nutrients gradually throughout the season. Slow-release fertilizers, compost, and periodic feeding programs often produce better results than heavy applications. Monitoring plant growth is essential. Dark green, rapidly expanding foliage may indicate excessive nitrogen. Steady growth accompanied by healthy flowering usually indicates a more balanced approach. Here's an interesting fact. A tomato plant can produce thousands of flowers during its lifetime. Yet only a portion of those flowers become mature fruits. Helping the plant successfully transition from flowering to fruiting is one of the keys to huge harvests. This brings us to pruning. Pruning remains one of the most debated topics in tomato growing. However, understanding the purpose of pruning makes the decision easier. Tomato plants naturally produce side shoots called suckers. These develop in the angle between the main stem and a leaf branch. Left alone, suckers become additional stems. Additional stems can produce additional flowers. But they also create additional competition for resources. Many growers remove at least some suckers to improve airflow, simplify management, and direct energy toward productive growth. The ideal pruning strategy depends on the variety and growing system. Indeterminate tomatoes commonly benefit from moderate pruning. Determinate varieties usually require less pruning because excessive removal can reduce total yields. The goal isn't necessarily to create the smallest plant. The goal is to create the most efficient plant. A well-managed tomato directs sunlight and nutrients toward productive fruiting structures. Training systems work hand in hand with pruning. Tomatoes naturally sprawl across the ground. While they can produce fruit this way, supporting them often improves both yield and quality. 3 common support methods are staking, caging, and trellising. Staking involves training plants along a vertical support. This method saves space and improves airflow. Caging allows plants to grow more naturally while keeping fruit off the ground. Heavy-duty cages are especially useful for vigorous indeterminate varieties. Trellising is popular among market gardeners because it supports large numbers of plants efficiently. Supported plants receive better light exposure. Fruit remains cleaner. Disease pressure often decreases. Harvesting becomes easier. And growers can monitor plant health more effectively. Now let's discuss pollination. Many people assume tomatoes require bees to produce fruit. The reality is fascinating. Tomatoes are largely self-pollinating. Each flower contains both male and female structures. However, pollen still needs movement. Wind, vibration, and pollinating insects help release pollen inside the flower. Commercial greenhouse growers sometimes use bumblebees specifically to improve pollination. Home gardeners can encourage pollination by attracting beneficial insects and maintaining healthy garden ecosystems. In sheltered environments such as greenhouses, gently shaking flowering plants can improve pollination rates. Better pollination leads to better fruit set. And better fruit set leads to larger harvests. Temperature also plays a major role. Many gardeners become frustrated when healthy plants produce flowers but fail to set fruit. The culprit is often temperature. Tomato pollen becomes less effective during extreme heat. Nighttime temperatures that remain excessively high can interfere with fruit set. Similarly, cool temperatures may slow pollination and development. Most tomato varieties perform best within moderate temperature ranges. When heat waves arrive, flower drop may occur despite excellent care. This is a natural response. Experienced growers often stagger planting dates or select heat-tolerant varieties to reduce these losses. Understanding temperature effects helps explain many seasonal fluctuations in production. Now let's examine some fascinating aspects of tomato biology. Many gardeners underestimate the size of a tomato root system. Under favorable conditions, roots may extend several feet horizontally and surprisingly deep into the soil. This enormous underground network supports rapid growth and heavy fruit loads. Another interesting fact is that flowers and fruits compete for resources. When plants face stress, they may shed flowers or small fruits to conserve energy. This survival strategy protects the plant but reduces harvest size. Reducing stress through proper watering, nutrition, and disease prevention helps plants retain more flowers and fruits. Speaking of disease prevention, let's cover one of the biggest harvest killers. Diseases can destroy months of work in just a few weeks. Early blight, late blight, septoria leaf spot, and various wilts are among the most common tomato problems. The best strategy is prevention. Good airflow is essential. Proper spacing helps. Pruning lower leaves reduces disease spread. Mulching minimizes soil splash. Crop rotation prevents pathogen buildup. Watering at the base of plants keeps foliage dry. Many successful growers inspect plants regularly and remove diseased leaves promptly. Healthy foliage powers photosynthesis. The longer leaves remain healthy, the longer the plant can produce fruit. Pests can be equally damaging. Aphids, hornworms, whiteflies, flea beetles, and other insects may weaken plants or reduce production. Regular monitoring allows early intervention. Hand-picking hornworms remains one of the simplest and most effective control methods. Encouraging beneficial insects often helps maintain natural balance. Many experienced gardeners focus on prevention rather than reaction. Healthy, vigorous plants generally tolerate minor pest damage better than stressed plants. Let's look at a real-world example. Many market gardeners growing hundreds or thousands of tomato plants follow remarkably similar practices. They begin with productive varieties. They build fertile soil rich in organic matter. They maintain consistent moisture. They support and train plants carefully. They monitor diseases aggressively. And they avoid over-fertilizing with nitrogen. Notice something important. There are no magic secrets. The biggest harvests usually result from consistently applying basic principles exceptionally well. Home gardeners who adopt these same habits often see dramatic improvements. One gardener may harvest 20 pounds from a plant. Another may harvest 50 pounds or more from a similar variety under excellent conditions. The difference often comes down to management rather than genetics alone. Now let's discuss mistakes. Understanding what not to do can be just as valuable as understanding what to do. Mistake number 1. Planting too early. Cold soil delays growth and stresses young plants. Mistake number 2. Overcrowding. Crowded plants suffer from poor airflow and reduced sunlight penetration. Mistake number 3. Inconsistent watering. Cycles of drought and flooding create numerous production problems. Mistake number 4. Excessive nitrogen. Huge plants do not automatically mean huge harvests. Mistake number 5. Neglecting support systems. Tomatoes sprawled on the ground face increased disease pressure and reduced fruit quality. Mistake number 6. Ignoring early signs of disease. Small problems often become large problems surprisingly quickly. Mistake number 7. Planting in poor soil. Even the best variety cannot overcome severely deficient growing conditions. Here's another valuable insight. Many gardeners stop caring for tomatoes after the first major harvest. Yet productive plants can continue producing for months. Extending the harvest season requires ongoing attention. Continue removing diseased foliage. Maintain consistent watering. Monitor nutrient levels. Harvest fruits regularly. Ripe fruit left on plants signals that reproduction has succeeded. Regular harvesting encourages continued production. Late in the season, some growers prune growing tips to redirect energy toward ripening existing fruit. Others use row covers to protect plants from early cold weather. In mild climates, tomatoes can remain productive far longer than many gardeners realize. The goal is to keep plants healthy and actively growing for as long as possible. As we approach the end of this discussion, let's connect all these principles together. A huge tomato harvest does not come from a single technique. It comes from a chain of successful decisions. Choose productive varieties. Start with healthy seedlings. Build fertile, well-drained soil. Plant deeply. Provide adequate spacing. Maximize sunlight. Water deeply and consistently. Apply mulch. Use balanced nutrition. Support and train plants properly. Encourage successful pollination. Protect against diseases and pests. Avoid unnecessary stress. And maintain plant health throughout the entire season. Each step contributes a small advantage. Together, those advantages compound into dramatically larger harvests. The gardeners who consistently harvest buckets of tomatoes are not relying on luck. They understand how tomato plants grow. They anticipate problems before they occur. And they provide the conditions that allow plants to reach their full potential. If you apply even a handful of the techniques we've discussed today, you'll likely notice stronger plants, healthier growth, and significantly more tomatoes. If you apply all of them consistently, the difference can be remarkable. The secret to a huge tomato harvest is not hidden. It's the combination of healthy soil, healthy plants, proper management, and careful attention. Throughout the growing season, master those fundamentals, and your tomato plants can reward you with more fruit than you ever thought possible. And when harvest time arrives, you'll understand that every basket of tomatoes represents the result of dozens of smart decisions made long before the first fruit ever appeared.